What is good, guys? It's Charles from Team COG coming at you guys here with my Ice Barrier deck profile. I actually have been doing a lot of point of view duels, and this was the first round of point of view was Ice Barrier here. I really enjoy this deck. It's probably not the best water deck. I think the Mermelantines take the cake, but it's a cool water deck you can play, and it's like thematic if you're into like dual terminal lore. I'm a huge dual terminal fan, all and up into like the World Legacy stuff, which is arguably dual terminal, depending if you're like a lore cryptic like I am. But since I can't play Necros because the new stuff hasn't come out yet, this is just one of the same coin to play Necros. The other coin would be like Gishki. But if you guys have been enjoying the point of view, please comment down below, give this video a like and stuff like that. So I think this is how, I think we're currently into Vanquish Soul as for this round of point of view, but this is how I think I want to structure my videos going forward. I'm going to do like a round of point of view, and that round could be anywhere between like 1 local, 2 locals, 4 locals, 7 locals, 20 locals. And then we'll just move on into, I'll give you guys the option to choose from another deck that I have, and if you guys want to like, comment down below some decks you want to see in point of view. I know it's like only like the second week of it, so just comment down below like what you guys would like to see. But I really enjoy this deck. It's so cool. It has like a crazy combo where you can draw 4 cards, man. That's 4 cards. And however, that does sound great, but there is some stuff to it, and I'll go over that in the deck profile. It's a 40 card main, 14 card extra currently, but the 15th card was a second Lancia, but you could easily take that out and play any other level 10 synchro of your option, or another level 10 or level 8 or something like that, whatever you really wanted. Without that much more being said, guys, please remember, if you guys enjoy this type of content, hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell so you never miss when we go live or we start to stream or anything like that. Also, if you guys want to help support the channel directly, hit that join button, become knighted. So without further ado, let's just jump on into it here. Ice Barriers, I think this deck was unplayable before the new support came out. Maybe you Ice Barrier like proteges can like tell me. I don't really know. I just know the new support it got in the structure deck was kind of meh, and it took like this way of structure deck for it to be good. So anyway, I really enjoy this deck. It's a combo eccentric deck, but like there's just some flaws. This is not like your typical combo deck or like your strongest combo deck, but it is still cool nonetheless. To go ahead and jump on into the profile, we're playing a 3 Revealer. I'll try and go over these as much as I can. Revealer is your 1.5 card combo. This plus a discard gets you to the draw 4. This plus a discard can also get you to Lancia, which Lancia is like the boss monster, which I'd say that's probably the thing the deck struggles the most with. Kind of inherently, the deck doesn't make its boss monster that well. And I know people are gonna be like, well, what do you mean? I'll explain when we go a little bit further. Triple Mirror Mage. Mirror Mage is kind of insane. It's literally it's the whole of the deck in a sense. Without this card, this deck couldn't do whatever it like could do. This is your token generator. You tribute an effect monster and you're able to summon up to 3 tokens, and this card gains level depending on the tokens. It is also a 1 card combo into a synchro 8 and a draw 1, which I guess at bare minimum, if all you see is Mirror Mage, you at least got something, right? Triple Speaker. This card is arguably the one that you could possibly cut down and play less of, but this plus Revealer, you see level 4, you're able to like make Toad. So like Speaker's pretty cool. It also gives you a level 1 token, which allows you to like synchro climb and stuff like that. But this is it right here for the level 3s. I wouldn't play any less. Like in a few like previous lists, I tried playing less Mirror Mage, and I don't think that's correct. I think Mirror Mage is so important. Whether you see it in your hand to discard off of your Ice Jade card, you see it in your hand to discard off your Revealer. Sometimes like Revealer pitch Mirror Mage is like free. Like that means if they impermanent hit this, you're still golding. You're like going places. But that's it for the 3 ofs. Moving on, we are on to double Hexa Spear of the Ice Barrier, and then double Georgius, or who I call Old Greg of the Ice Barrier. So Hexa here is on summon, not on summon. It's kind of weird. These guys are like so old, but not so old that they have like on summon effects and some don't. Old Greg is on summon, but like Revealer's not on summon. It's an ignition effect, and same with the Hexa. But ignition, you can send a level 3 or lower Ice Barrier monster from your deck to the graveyard, and this monster's level becomes that. So again, it allows you to send Mirror Mage, which then triggers the Mirror Mage. This is like a 1 card combo in the deck as well, which is pretty cool. And Old George here, Old Greg, is essentially, if you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon it, and then it allows you on summon to special summon from the hand or graveyard another Ice Barrier. This card is... I have a love-hate relationship with this card, because you having to control an Ice Barrier just kind of sucks. In a way, there's not really like good extenders. So like this card should have been what Ice Jade Arginine was, is like discard an Ice Barrier card, special summon itself. Essentially, if you have access to an Ice Barrier on field and any of the level 4s, whether it be Speaker or Revealer, you're going to be able to special summon it, and then special on level 4, and then you're going to be able to synchro for Lancia. And then finally, for the last of the Ice Barriers, we are rocking the 1 General Ryo of the Ice Barrier. This card is very interesting in how it's worded. It's pretty much like what you summon out off of Lancia. Essentially, when an effect resolves, when an effect resolves that is activated by your opponent's effect monster on the field, they discard one card. If they do not, the effect is negated. So it essentially is like a one-site, like it forces the opponent to discard on activation in order to resolve. So if they have no hand, they can't resolve their effects. You could potentially play, I think, Warlock, which is like a spell, but like you don't want to see like these cards in your hand at all. So I decided just to play General Ryo in this list here. And there, I don't know how many times I think I saw it twice, Ryo in my hand. So like imagine playing a second brick that you don't want to see in your hand and you end up seeing it. But this is like the win condition of the deck in a way. Well, not just the win condition, but it's like one of the major win conditions of the deck is using Ryo to be able to, you know, get on the field through the Lancia, and then you set it up and the opponent now has to like lose hand advantage in order to play. If they can't discard, well, skill drain, which is pretty cool. For honorary mentions here, we're on to Ice Jade Ran Arginine here. This card is just a discard one water monster, special summon a token, level 3 token. Then you're locked into waters while the token's on the field. And it's like a 1.5 card rank 10, or late synchro 10, excuse me. So that's the only thing to say it. Like arguably, like I said, old Greg here should have done what Arginine does, but I'm not in charge of card design, sadly. Moving on to the final bit of the monsters, we're on to 3 Molcharmies and then 3 Ash Blossoms. Molcharmy is, because this deck's weak, it's not, like I said, there's definitely a stronger water decks out there than what we have access to, and the Molcharmy kind of equalizes that. There was at least twice in my POV when dropping Molcharmy, kind of like the opponents had to like pass turn. That's exactly what this card's designed to do, is be a high impact card to like slow them down. And if they give you more draws, you get more draws. Which is good. I feel like this deck has just bent around drawing because you just need to draw into like non-engine and stuff like that. Ash Blossom, because Ash Blossom, you don't want to get hit by Molcharmy, so you have Ash to counter it along with like Cross Out and stuff like that. Moving on to the spells, you're on to triple of your Rhoda, which is Medallion of the Ice Barrier. This card is a non-once per turn Rhoda that searches out any Ice Barrier monster. That's pretty wild considering how old this deck is, but we don't see non-once per turn Rhodas anymore, you know what I mean? We're on to double freezing chains of the Ice Barrier. Cool fact, Latrishula of the Ice Barrier is in there, which is kind of awesome. This card is like a continuous spell. It's a monster reborn. I chose to play 2 over I think it's Blue Skies or the Bright Skies over the Ice Barrier or something like that. I didn't really like that card. I felt like it lost harder to hand trap, so I wanted to play multiple copies of Freezing Chain because, again, if you end up sending your Mirror Mage and you already have access to it, you can search like something else, like an old Greg, which then like gives you like the guarantee to end on like the Lancia on your end board, which is really nice. Another cool thing is if you control 3 or more Ice Barrier monsters, you control are unaffected by monsters that are summoned from the extra deck, which is nice. But that is it for the Ice Barrier spells. Moving on to triple cross out here. So we're playing Ash, we're playing Full Rust, so like this gives us plenty of cross out targets. This deck is fragile. It's not your like tier 1, maybe arguably like tier 4 if that. So you have to have cross out to be able to like play, because like sometimes just one bad hand trap can end your turn. So like you don't want to like get, you know, if one bad non-common hand trap can end your turn, you might as well have cross out to cover all the good hand traps that are seen play. 2 Pot of Desires. This arguably could be tactics, but I like Pot of Desires because, again, this deck needs to draw. I wanted to like kind of make the theme of the deck of draw, push through, draw into extenders and stuff. Desires does suck if you do banish Ryo, but it's not the end-all be-all. The fact that Lancia can beam out like Old Greg, and Old Greg allows you to like stop the graveyard effects. He's kind of cool. 1 Call by the Grave. Like I said, this is like, if you guys have noticed a lot of my profiles, I normally rock 2 tactics and 1 call by. So there you go. If you don't like Pot of Desires, just move on to Triple T, because Triple T has a lot of implications. I just didn't want to like have a card like Triple T be dead, especially if they like hit you with like Fulvaros or, you know, something like that. You just smack down Pot of Desires if that, you know, right away. It doesn't have to wait for the opponent to activate a monster effect in the main phase. Same with going second. Sometimes Pot of Desires demands a response because that's plus, you know, it's a +1. So moving on to the trap cards, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Triple Dominus Impulse and then triple Infinite Impermanence. These are like the best trap cards you could play. Impulse. It's nice to play this Impulse in this deck because it is a water deck. And like I said, this deck is already fighting from the backside. So like it needs all the help it can get with cards such as Flaros and like Dominus Impulse. And Imperm's Imperm. It's an insane hand trap. I think that this card is like in every deck list. So that's it for the main deck. We'll move on here to the extra. Now, a reminder that this is 14 cards. Again, the 15th card could just be any Synchro 10 or 8 that you want. But for the Ice Barriers, which is kind of funny because I have Lancia here, the Ancestral Dragon of the Ice Barrier. It's not even an Ice Barrier. This card is pretty insane. When your opponent special summons a monster once per chain up to twice per turn, you can summon from the deck, graveyard, pretty much anywhere or extra deck, an Ice Barrier. So it allows you to summon out your Ryo and stuff like that. and then you can change the battle position of one monster on the field. And then if this card in the owner's possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you get to summon out a Ice Barrier synchro monster, and it's treated as a synchro summon, so it allows you to float down into like Trishula, and Trishula gets treated as a synchro summon, so its effect fires off. Which, speaking of, we have the original Trishula, and then we have the Trishula Zero, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. These are the float down targets right here. Normally you go Lancia into 0, banish 3 cards, and if they solve this, you float down into the OG Trishula, which is a 3300, and then it skill drains everything, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, this is it for like, I'd say like the Ice Barrier synchros. Like I said, Lancia is technically not an Ice Barrier, but it should be. That's one of the other things that kind of sucks is like if you happen to have like Gregoris or Georgius, excuse me, I just combined Georgius and Greg in your hand, like since Lancia is not an Ice Barrier, like even if you just make it, it can extend out, which is like why I think the card should have been a little bit better. But moving on to the synchros, we got a level 6 synchro in the form of Coral Dragon, which is part of the draw 4 combo, Deep Sea Prima Donna, Adamantipator Dragite Risen, White Orwell, the Ravenous Croc, and Ice Jade Jimor Arginine. These are the rest of the synchros. The Coral Dragon, not much really can be said. It's part of the draw 1. Go in second, you can discard a card and pop a card. The Deep Sea Prima Donna, if you're playing the Barrier statue, which if you're playing a runic variant of the deck, you're more inclined to do so. You could play the Barrier statue of Tidal Waves or of Waves, whichever one it is, and then you can summon out. But right now it's just like a stepping stone up into something else. Mostly to get a level 7. It didn't really come up at all in my point of view testing and everything. The Adamantipator Risen, Spell and Trap Negate. Essentially, if you end on Lancia, you really want to end Lancia with something else in the form of either Adamantipator or like Toad. So, because like it really sucks when you literally make the Lancia and they end permit right off the rip, or they just have the immediate answer for this card. So you need to have like an Omni Negate or something to protect it. End perm is the most common example, and that's it for the synchros. There's not really much to be said here. White Rails like crazy going second. Crocosaur is part of the draw 4 combo, and then Ice Jade is just a solid level 10 synchro to end on. Onto the XYZs. We're rocking 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Bahamut Shark, and 1 Toad. That's about it. Not really much more can be said. The part of the draw 4 combo is protected by Toad, which is kind of awesome, which makes it a very powerful draw 4 combo. But it's just kind of upsetting that it can only really be attained through like particular sequencing and particular card iterations, not just kind of like free out there. So for last 2 links, Almirage and the Coral Anemone. Coral Anemone is part of the draw 4 combo that I mentioned so many times, and Salamangreat Almirage is part of, if you happen to open just the Mirror Mage here, it's has the ability to like be, you take the Mirror Mage turn to that, and you have like the draw 1 plus Synchro 8 line. And then again, like I said, this is 14 cards, so you could play any other Synchro or XYZ or Link that you really want to. But that is it for the profile, guys. I really enjoyed playing the deck, but the deck does have some major flaws, some major consistency issues, which is kind of crazy when you look at a deck that plays so much draw power. That you'd be like, well, how does it brick? Well, it bricks because you either draw a whole bunch of non-engine or you don't draw enough non-engine. And your boards can easily be broken too, especially if you get to the draw 4 combo and you draw nothing but like starters and extenders. It's just kind of rough. Not being able to, and like I said earlier in the video, the deck struggles outside of like the Ice Jade here to be able to make the Lancia on its own. Because the only way we make it is if we control an Ice Barrier, and that's a lot of commitment. You pretty much have to have like 3 cards committed, and a minimum of 2 to be able to make it with the Ice Barriers, because like you have to like have one like normal summon this and old Greg here to summon out to make it, but like you'd want to fire off Revealer. So I guess that's like a hindsight's like a good example, is if you normal summon Revealer, pitch a card, and they end up like in perming it, ashing it, you can special out old Greg here and then synchro into your Lancia, and at least you end on Lancia, which isn't too bad. Ryo's insane. This card's kind of wild. I don't think people, if there's any reason to play the deck besides the draw 4 combo, end of the video, guys. Let's play a game. Rewatch the video, and every time I say the draw 4 combo, take a shot and let me know how alive you guys are at the end of the video again. General Ryo's another reason to play the deck. It's a crazy like win condition. I enjoy the deck. It just has its glaring, it's not like it has its glaring issues that most other decks, a lot of decks have issues, man. It's just how the game goes. But this deck does have some inconsistencies, considering it's like main like win con is like draw a bunch of cards. You just think it'd be a little bit more consistent, but I think maybe one more good wave of support and the deck will be pretty solid. But it was a blast playing the deck at locals, and yeah, if you guys really, like I said, enjoy this type of stuff, please remember to like the video and stuff like that. But without further ado, this is going to be Charles from Team COG. You guys stay safe, stay healthy, and I'm going to sign out.